Hello and welcome to The Big Picture with me, Ishan Russell. Tonight, we discuss the Uttarakhand political crisis as the High Court there today has quashed the order of the central government that had put the state under President's rule. Deciding that the Congress shall return to power, the division bench of the court also ordered that a floor test must be held in the Uttarakhand Assembly on the 29th of April, where former Chief Minister, now Chief Minister Harish Rawat's claim of having majority support shall be put to test. Referring to the NDA's government's argument that the President took the decision to impose Article 356 of the Constitution in his political wisdom, the bench observed people can go wrong, be it President or judges. The BJP plans to take the matter to the Supreme Court and the Congress is calling it a victory of democracy. So what exactly would be the next steps? What can we expect in the coming days? And how should this be viewed? We'll be discussing all that tonight with Raju Ramachandran, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court, somebody who knows the Constitution inside out as well, legal editor of the Hindustan Times. Satya Prakash is here with us in the studio. And on the political side, Gopal, Krishna, Agarwal, National Spokesperson of the BJP, and Vadakkan, National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Mr. Ramachandran, I'll start with you. Thank you very much for coming in. Let's try to understand what has happened today, because many are calling it a huge setback for the central government, but just in legal terms, it's quite an unprecedented judgment, isn't it?
Yes, this judgment is important for 3 or 4 reasons. One, this is perhaps the first time that the logic of the Bommai judgment has been carried through fully, in the sense that it has resulted in a reinstatement of a government. All those principles were laid down. The court said we have the power. But to the best of my memory, this is the first time an actual reinstatement of the government has been done. Secondly, this judgment is noteworthy for the fact that it was delivered immediately after the conclusion of arguments. Normally, in a case of such constitutional importance, the judges would have reserved judgment. But the central government left the court with no choice, because when an apprehension was expressed that the court may be presented with a fait accompli by revocation of President's rule in the interregnum, installation of a BJP government and a vote of confidence by that government, which would make this petition infructuous, and the court asked the government whether they could assure the court that the status quo would not be disturbed. The government said, we can't give any such assurance.
Right.
Then the court rose to the occasion and said, well, if you can't give us an assurance, we go ahead and write this judgment. This judgment is important because it upholds constitutionalism, a rule of law, and it's one more assertion, not that there was any doubt about the independence of judiciary, but it's a reassertion of the independence of the judiciary.
All right, independence of the judiciary. The BJP, of course, is saying that the Uttarakhand High Court shouldn't have come down in such harsh terms. Gopal, Krishna, Agarwal, today, I mean, as far as the central government is concerned, I mean, you have people from their own party, Subramaniam Swamy, tweeting out that the Attorney General and the Solicitor General should be sacked. And the fact that this has come back as a huge setback for the government, how's the party approaching this?
Actually, I don't think it's a setback. It is definitely we respect the judgment of the High Court, and that has to be respected by all. But the comments that they have made and observations they have made are not called for, because ultimately it is an opinion of the High Court, which there can be difference of judgment on different position on various issues. But you cannot say ki what you think or what one particular set of observations that the court thinks is the only.
All right, we've heard this argument from the BJP side, but Mr. Agarwal, very quickly, I just want to interrupt you over here before we go further ahead. Just the fact that what Sir was pointing out earlier, the fact that as far as the BJP is concerned, it did not have a response also to the fact that whether there would be an attempt to form the government. So in that sense, with the haste and the indecisiveness with which the BJP and the central government perhaps had functioned over here, really upset the court.
No, I don't think like that, because unless the government takes a decision, how can it take a position that what it will do in future? Ultimately, any decision by the government will depend upon the situations and how it moves, because there were multiple cases. Even this High Court case was going on. Even there is a case on 23rd where decision will be taken on whether this membership of this 9 MLAs will be suspended or they have to be carried on. Particularly then later on, the basic position where BJP and our government moved ahead on the decision of the cabinet and the president was, which has been, I think, ignored by the High Court, is that on 18th of March.
Then I assume, as the party has already said, that the BJP would be going to the Supreme Court with this. Tom Vadakkan, what's your response to that? That the BJP is saying they will go to the Supreme Court with this and the High Court should not have used such harsh terms.
I heard Mr. Agarwal. I had been on another channel with him. In that discussion, he repeated the same issue. He said it is the opinion of the High Court. Let me correct my honorable spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. It's not an opinion. It's a ruling. This is one of the most historical decisions that has been taken after the Bommai case. This is not about BJP or Congress. This is about strengthening of democracy. Article 356 is used under circumstances not to interfere with political activities or based on rumors. I mean, the argument of the AG in the High Court was shocking. I mean, you have to base it on the governor's report. There was nothing on that kind. There was no ground report. Even the Home Ministry was actually playing shy of touching the whole thing. Now, you have 2 or 3 leaders who are fishing in troubled water. Right. Now, the whole argument is there was trouble in the Congress party. And now, trouble in Congress party or Bharatiya Janata Party is no ground to bring in president's rule. You have brought the president's office into a debate. It's very shocking indeed. And I think this is a historical decision. This will tell governments across the time in history that yes, if you play with 356 in this manner, it is political hierarchy.
All right.
I'm sorry, the Bharatiya Janata Party may go to Supreme Court. The Constitution remains
what happens
constant.
in the Supreme Court? Satya, what happens in the Supreme Court?
So
what
the
can
point
we
I'm
expect
trying to make
there?
is...
Yeah, Tom, let Satya respond to that. The fact that the BJP now wants to go to the Supreme Court, and what can we expect there?
Well, Supreme Court, we cannot prejudge things, and we cannot rather predict what will happen in the Supreme Court. But this is a historic case, unprecedented in the sense that at least I don't remember in the last 25 years, any government was reinstated after it was dismissed by the central government using Article 356. So that way it's historic, unprecedented. So the central government is going to the Supreme Court. The Attorney General has already made a statement. The court, given the fact that it's a completely new kind of situation or unprecedented situation, the court might grant a stay, but ultimately what will happen, it will depend upon what is there in the actual judgment of the High Court. Unless we read that, we cannot find fault with the judgment. Prima facie, whatever we know, the court has based its finding on the fact that there was the Harish Raw's government was enjoying majority and it was dismissed. But many people don't know that the government can be dismissed even otherwise. It is not necessary that the governor sends a report. Even in the absence of governor's report, it can be suspended, it can be dismissed. Second, that what is that otherwise, post Bommai case, even the otherwise, that you have to have some material. In this case, what the BJP said and the central government said, that the fact that the speaker did not go for division of votes on appropriation bill, that constitutes breakdown of constitutional
majority. All right, but the contention in that is that...
I am rather interested
That's
to know
only one part.
Whether...
All right,
yes,
we'll come to you, Mr. Agarwal.
I just want to know what is the finding of the Honorable High Court on that. Second part, it's quite well known, it has been reported. And then only we can decide what the High Court, Supreme Court can say, what is the material in the High Court verdict. Accordingly, the case will pan out.
All right, sir, but the fact is that the BJP said that this is also not good because you're questioning the president and his decision. How valid is that argument?
Well, let's put this in perspective because much is being made of this. Now, when the court refers to the president, it refers to the government.
Right.
There's nothing personal about the president.
Yes.
Right? Secondly, when the court says the president can be wrong, that's the essence of judicial review. If the court has the power to review a presidential proclamation, it is because the president can go wrong.
Right.
So there's no insult to the president. The judges haven't gone out of line or anything like that. So let's make this very clear.
Yeah, in fact, I want...
And one more thing. If an argument is made before the court, we get it from the reports, that the president is a person of political wisdom. If that's what is said to the court, naturally the court will respond by saying, yes, but he can also go wrong. And the court said, we can also go wrong because our judgment is subject to correction. So there's nothing in these observations which should make anyone feel that the judiciary has overstepped its limits in its observations.
Right. Do you accept that, Gopal, Krishna, Agarwal, that it's not the president that is being questioned, but the decision only?
Now, the whole argument which the High Court is giving, what I was pointing out is very important. There are two aspects of the judgment. One is the observations and one is the ruling. Ruling is that they have withdrawn the precedent rule and Harish Rao, this government has been restored. The second thing is their observation. What we are objecting is observation is an opinion. The same way as has been pointed out, if the president observation or opinion can go wrong, the same way court can be go wrong. So ultimately, we are respecting the judgment. We will, for the finality of the judgment, we will be going to the Supreme Court.
So you accept it's not questioning the authority of the president, as many spokespersons of your party have gone on TV channels and said today.
The president acts on the aid and advice of the
Exactly.
cabinet.
That's right.
So there is
we
no
are
question
not
of president personally being
there is no
involved.
question of challenging the authority of the president.
And I don't think the court was also doing that, but many
Ultimately,
people in the
it is the
BJP did
opinion
come out
that
and
we are
say that today.
objecting to.
Tom, I want to quickly come across to you because there's another matter that is involved in this, that of the 9 disqualified MLAs, their stance, as well as the sting operation, the charges of corruption on which the central government said that was one of the major reasons why this government had to go. So how would you respond to that, and what is the Congress's strategy as far as those 9 MLAs are concerned?
See, let me put this on record. About the 9 MLAs, the matter is sub judice. I think it's to be decided on April 23rd or something. So I don't want to prejudge that. But I want to bring to your attention something very interesting. In 2014, in the Maharashtra Assembly, Mr. Naseem Khan took an issue up in the High Court of Maharashtra. And the issue was about the division of votes. Finally, the court, in its wisdom, said it is the Speaker's discretionary power what he decides. We in the Congress party accepted it. We did not go to Supreme Court. The Speaker is final on the question of division of vote. There are very heavy discretionary powers available with the Speaker, especially on the anti-defection law. Now, that being the conditionality, the High Court in Maharashtra, otherwise the Fadnavis government would have been out and over in history. There also, this is also a case which will point very clear indication. The whole issue is about the Speaker's power.
All right, and I want to get into Raju Ramachandran on that.
The Speaker's
you made
power
the point,
and the central power
and
to
the
come
fact that Maharashtra judgment, does that ensure, I mean, in this particular case, the Speaker's authority has been questioned, whether the Speaker should have disqualified those 9 MLAs, and that disqualification perhaps under question because
No,
of
the
that.
disqualification is also subject to judicial review.
Right.
If the order of disqualification gets stayed on the 23rd of April, then the disqualified MLAs can also vote. If the High Court decides not to stay it, they cannot vote.
Okay.
Right, that's clear. That's subject to judicial process. But I wish to make one more point, because there are allegations about Speaker's alleged partisanship because of not accepting a division, etc. Now it's a long jump from an allegation of partisanship on the part of the Speaker to say there's breakdown of constitutional machinery. The worst that can be said about any speaker is that he's partisan.
Right.
Well, then move a motion for his removal. How do you come to the conclusion that because the speaker
I think that was the
is
difference
partisan
between what is happening in Uttarakhand and what had happened in Arunachal
That's
Pradesh.
right.
And that perhaps could be one of the differences why Arunachal Pradesh is being talked about in a different way and the Uttarakhand case is completely backfired.
But of course, Arunachal, the judgment is still awaited.
Exactly.
It's just that there was no interim relief, but let's see what the judgment is going to be in
Pending
Arunachal.
that judgment, Arunachal, the political scene has completely changed. In this case is important for another reason, that the time that the High Court took was much less.
Okay.
And before anything at the political level could change, the court delivered its
All right,
verdict.
but Satya, explain to me, what is the present status as of now? Harish Rawat is expected to take a floor test on the 29th. But in the interim, what could happen? And also, as far as the government right now, is he the chief minister or is he not the chief minister? Can
He is the
decisions
chief
be
minister
taken?
now. After this order, he is the chief minister. The court has restored a status quo ante. So he is the chief minister and he has been asked to take the floor test on 29th. What can happen tomorrow, supposing that Supreme Court stays the Uttarakhand High Court verdict,
That's right.
then again, whatever finally is decided by the Supreme Court, accordingly things will unfold. But so far as today is concerned, he is the chief minister, and tomorrow if the Supreme Court refuses to stay the High Court order, then he will have to face the floor test, and accordingly if he loses, he goes. If he survives, he remains the chief minister. But one point particularly about anti-defection law, this is being misused, anti-defection law, generally by any, irrespective of political ideology, and it is being misused by a speaker in various states. And the moment any government is asked to take floor test, the speaker would start disqualification proceedings against the rival MLAs of that ruling party. This is how things are getting complicated, and things are, most of the things which could have been decided politically at the level of various political parties and at the level of a speaker using his powers under 10th schedule, everything is going to courts, and courts in the process, I am afraid, they are getting much more power, and the so-called judicial activism is somehow resulting into judicial overreach. And it will have serious implications because the political
that's a very
class,
pertinent point. I want to get
the political class is feeling much aggrieved. At this juncture, maybe Mr. Vadakkan is happy, but the political class as a whole must ponder over these things. The judiciary has been encroaching upon the space meant for the political class, be as government, political executives, or as legislature.
In fact, the President on Saturday at the retreat of the Supreme Court judges had mentioned this point, that each pillar of democracy should maintain its boundaries. So, I mean, the BJP is saying this is a little bit of judicial overreach. On the other hand, the Congress is saying this is a victory for democracy. How should this be viewed?
No, I have never understood this thing about judicial overreach. If there's a judgment which you don't like, then it becomes judicial overreach. But if you like it, then judiciary is doing its job. Now we are functioning under a constitution where the judiciary is the final arbiter. You have an anti-defection law, you have provisions for president's rule. Now, if these provisions are wrongly invoked, then they will be challenged in court. So, in constitutional adjudication, the court does play a political role. It's inherent in the nature of things in constitutional adjudication, which doesn't mean this is judicial overreach. This is the job of the superior courts.
Overreach,
The unpleasant job of the superior courts.
overreach, there are areas in which they are not supposed to. There are various, like the other day there was hearing on drought. The central government was pointing out very simple things. It is for the states to declare drought, and under the scheme of things, it is the states in the state's domain, and once they declare it, then we can step in and we can help them.
All right.
And
No, those are different matters. I agree.
And I'm saying, and there
I
are
agree.
not just one, forest bench.
Okay.
Things
So
meant
that-
for executive, the courts are
all right, but
running.
I want to stick to this topic for now. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, the fact is, as experts have pointed out over here, that as the BJP said that there was a breakdown of the constitutional mechanism, but it seems that the way the central government behaved really points to that right now, given the observations of the Uttarakhand High Court. So as far as the next steps for the BJP are concerned, do you think that perhaps stepping back a little could be a possibility rather than going the confrontational way?
No, actually, we should all understand that there are difference of opinion between what BJP thinks that it is the government cabinets ministers think or the president think was this president rule was required, called for.
Right.
And the court thinks that it was not required for. There is a difference of opinion. A court has every right to give its rulings and judgment, but the observations on various issues and assigning agenda to that is wrong. That is, I think, is not called for.
Okay, you're saying it's uncalled for, but the fact is that history has shown us a lot of things, and history has also shown us, Mr. Agarwal, that...
Just wait a second, just Ishan.
Just very quickly, Mr. Agarwal.
If we go to the Supreme Court, tomorrow, if we go to the Supreme Court and it stays the court, then what will happen to all the debate? Is the High Court is justified for all these observations?
That's the big question mark. That's the big question mark.
It has every right to have a difference.
All right, but given what we have today,
what you want
I'll
to
just go back to what had happened with Mr. Arun Jaitley in 2005 when a similar crisis had happened in Bihar, and then Mr. Arun Jaitley had asked for the Prime Minister's resignation, a recall of the governor. Do you think the Congress, I'm sure Tom would be calling for the same, is fair in its demand then? Mr. Agarwal, can you hear me?
Huh? What?
I was saying that in 2005, when a similar situation had happened in Bihar, that time Mr. Jaitley was calling for the Prime Minister's resignation, Dr. Manmohan Singh. This time around, Mr. Jaitley said that this was a typical case for the application of Section 356, Article 356. So how would you respond to the dichotomy?
No, there are difference of that. We understand, we are agreeing. There is a difference of opinion where we think that the president rule and this was called because on 18th March, our position is clear. The government has lost the majority. Second, it was the chief minister himself was going on into horse riding and buying MLAs. Secondly, this chief speaker had, by his act, has created a constitutional crisis. So these were the opinions which we think that are called for the president rule. In Bihar, what you are talking of, there was at 3 a.m. in the evening, suddenly those situations,
sir,
you cannot compare
of late, as far as the imposition of central rule is concerned, we have had odd circumstances. And Arunachal, the assembly was held in a community hall. So let's not get into that. But okay, final comments. I just have time for those. Very quickly, Tom Vadakkan, the defection of the MLAs and horse trading is a charge that the Congress is being constantly charged with by the BJP over here. How would you respond to that? Just 30 seconds, because I'll have to wrap up now.
Horse trading, horse slaughter, all has happened in the land of Uttarakhand. We are very clear that this whole operation, which was driven by money and muscle power from Delhi by two leaders who were sitting in Uttarakhand, was a huge operation. It got misfired. Now today they're openly saying that they are going to get a Supreme Court. I mean, the observation is very clear that they are going to get a Supreme Court stay in the issue. How long will they take democracy for a ride? What the Supreme Court will decide is for something for the Supreme Court will decide. Why do you get into the fact that the Supreme Court will act this way or that way?
All right.
This is clearly indicative of mindset that you want to derail democracy. You cannot come through the ballot, so we use 356.
I think that it's an important point, but you're still not responding to the charge of your chief minister was there on tape
it's
also
not going to work.
Indulging in a little bit of that horse trading. The veracity of those tapes, though, have to be verified. I'll add that rider. Mr. Ramachandran, final word to you over here.
All
right, fair enough.
That.
We know the response to that.
Manufactured tapes are all available. You know that.
But final word to you, anti-defection law, does that get strengthened with this particular judgment?
Well, it does. If the speaker's ruling, I disagree with Satya Prakash there. If you have an anti-defection law, it has to kick in at a time when there's rebellion. Otherwise, the speaker holds his hands, allows the government to be defeated, new government is installed, then you bring in disqualification provisions, then that government goes because these people are disqualified. It can't be. In the very nature of things, the disqualification law has to start operating the moment there is a rebellion. And I think the anti-defection provisions have been strengthened.
All right. On that note, we'll have to wrap it up very quickly.
That after NJSC verdict, this is the second verdict in which judiciary has somehow a verdict has gone against this government. If they lose the case even in the Supreme Court, we are heading towards some sort of confrontation between the executive and the judiciary.
All right. And those words are indeed worrying as far as the pillars of democracy are concerned. But thank you very much, Mr. Ramachandran, Satya Prakash, Gopal, Krishna, Agarwal and Tom Vadakkan for joining us tonight. So, the Uttarakhand political crisis, well, it's far from over. We'll continue to discuss it on the big picture as the events unfold tomorrow and day after. Thanks so much for watching for now.